Welcome back. And those just tuning in, we just finished up our matchup between the Necrons and the Kroot.
The Kroot hunting pack.
The Kroot hunting pack. With a final score, Necrons 69. Nice. Kroot 88.
88.
So the Kroot came away with a victory. Apparently the terrible Necron units were not enough to do it. The Gauze Pylon didn't buy its points, but killed 2 Krootoks and one Kroot Hound. Obliterated that Kroot Hound. Like, I think the next game that we play against Necrons, that Kroot Hound he's already dead at the beginning. It's in his bloodline.
There should be a crater there on the table for the next game.
Yeah, for what that Kroot is just.
Did you roll the damage? How much damage did you do, my Kroot?
I did not roll the damage. So that one Kroot Hound took 2 damage. Double ones. One Kroot Hound took 2 damage. So yeah, good thing he's only got 1 wound.
Right.
All right, so a couple things. Let's go back and forth. Necrons, these were some of the bad units, units that don't see play. Convergence, not terrible. Like I said many times, I could see possibly plopping one down in an army for your main area just to have that 6 up feel no pain isn't bad. But with a hyper mechanical list, spiders do it better. Especially with the shift of devastating wounds.
Mm-hmm.
The Triarch Praetorians I didn't hate. They weren't too bad. And when they started getting in there and doing some work, I'd be interested to give them another try out of the Obeisance Phalanx. Being able to do that +1 to wound was pretty interesting.
Yeah, they definitely give you some mobility. They're T5 and 2 wounds. They have some durability there too. And really, because they were kind of skirting around until later in the game, they presented the problem that I figured Necrons would pose to the Kroot, is that Kroot get bonuses if you're below starting strength, and if you're below half strength, they get bonuses to hit and then to wound. And like I would kill one, and then you just reanimate back on your turn. So the next time I went to attack it, I wasn't getting my bonuses. Didn't happen with the big troop, the big warrior squad so much, because I was able to get them down so they didn't reanimate back to full strength.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, later in the game when I was trying to pick on them, I just couldn't do it, and losing out on my bonuses to hit and wound them because they just kept reanimating back to full strength. Yeah,
and that's a big issue with the Warriors, is the fact that they just, they can do some work. There is some ability there, but they crumble so fast. They crumble too fast, and once you start knocking them away and you get that number down, they're gone. I definitely say after playing this, I do kind of have an itch to run that Obeisance Phalanx again, the way I was running before with the Immortals and stuff like that, because, man, I miss that. There's a lot that I feel like with Pariah Nexus, I feel like there could be something there with the style I was running before, on top of the fact of just having, like you said with the Overlords are mean. And then you put them in a squad of Immortals where they get reroll wounds on top of like the one that gets reroll hits and stuff like that. It's just so nasty.
And they also, the fact that they have a 2-up armor save and they reduce damage by 1, they're just
that's the foot ones.
Way too durable. Yeah.
And I wasn't even using them to max. I forgot about the fact that now we don't just reduce battle tactic stratagems; it's all of them. So I could have been reducing things down to 0 and having more CP. Not that it would have done much. I had CP at the end of the game, so it wasn't like the end of the world there. But that definitely is something that, looking into other builds, that could be really huge. So I'm definitely looking forward to messing around with that, bringing some more Lich Guard, the ones with swords and shields this time. The Lich Guard, they're underwhelming when they hit. Really are. It's okay, they hit, they did 2 damage, they cleared stuff, but it's just the 2 attacks. It's really underwhelming. And in that sense, the Triarch Praetorians impressed me more because their speed, and they had 3 attacks. Yeah. And then you use the command ability to go +1 to wound, and now you're wounding on 2s as well. No dev wounds, but didn't really need it at that point. All right. Enough about the Necrons. If you guys had any more questions about some of the units and some of the things that you've seen and perform, and you wanted to hear more about those, leave a comment down in the comment section. I don't think there was any other units that I left out. Oh, Gauze Pylon. Yeah. It killed 3 things.
Yeah, so 70 and then 8 points. Yeah, 78 points worth of models.
Oh, Annihilation Barge. Annihilation Barge was cool. But they're very swingy. Not worth its points, how I felt.
Yeah.
Catacomb. Oh, excuse me, Catacomb Command Barge. It was decent. Just not for its point. I feel like it's lacking something. If it did have the Overlord keyword, it could benefit from some of the things that obeisance. I think it'd have been stronger. I did like the fact. I do like the fact, the possibility that theoretically you can crank the OC value on stuff real easily. Being able to have like OC3 Lich Guard is really something cool, but kind of more of a gimmick more than anything else. So, but yeah. I think that's about it for the Necron. I don't think there was anything else. There was really units that I ran that into this with that today. All right, Kroot. This is what we're here for. So, how do you feel?
They're fun. They have lots of fun interactions and synergies and things. For example, the Krootox Rampagers, they do impact mortals. I totally forgot my rule. If they do an impact mortal and they kill a model, then you got to take a battle shock test. I don't think it would have been really relative. You don't have any defensive strats that you would have used. But no, the fact that, they charge in, if they do impact mortals and kill a model, or do impact mortals to a vehicle or a monster or something, they bring that below starting strength, and that means then their abilities to get +1 to hit, is procced off of that. So there's lots of, all the units have grenades too. Like all the infantry and the Krootox all have the grenades keyword. So for an army that has trouble doing damage, at least you have the ability to throw grenades with most of your units. Not the Kroot Hounds; they can't throw grenades, but pretty much everything else can. And there's a lot of fun synergies, and it really starts to add up when you get to that +1 to wound. You got a high volume of shooting and combat attacks. It really starts to stack up. But really, there's just a lack of AP in the army. So both, in your game here and the game I played against Zach and practicing, it just said, please don't bring too many units that have a 2-up save, because there's just nothing I can do about that. And we saw that going in the Overlords. Once I killed the squads and the Overlords were left, they gave me so many problems because there's a 2-up save. And you just, if you roll 2-ups, and maybe I hit it with something in AP1, and you just have to roll 3-ups and just keep it alive. So I think it'll be fun. Like I said, I'm going to take it to an RTT here at some point, just to have a good time, have a laugh with it. I like the synergies.
Win a painting competition.
Yeah, maybe we'll see. I like the synergies that work within the list. It's just that, man, they just needed to give it a little bit more. I think legitimately running 18 of the Rampagers would probably cause a lot of problems for my opponents, because they hit real hard. Yeah, they hit real hard, and you can protect them with the lone op strat, even though it's only 18 inches now. You can protect them. I didn't really use that this game because I was pushing most everything up the table, but they definitely they hit pretty hard into infantry. I think into vehicles they're going to struggle, but infantry, just their volume of attacks is huge, and their consistency is really good when they're hitting on 2s. So
yeah, and on top of it, your score, you were just consistent with the secondaries over and over and over again. You almost maxed out the secondaries, and the only thing that really kept your score down was this primary mission. At the end of the game, if you had just like one more unit, one more model in some aspects, or you passed, the Krootox, the one that was left, if he passed a battle shock, then that's 5 more points, because you can burn an objective. You can move him away and go burn an objective on top of it and score that at the end of the game. But because this one capped us at 10 on primary, you maxed your 10 on primary every turn of the game, but you couldn't get the burnt objective because of the fact that you had to cleanse the objectives. So I think this mission was one that it kind of hampered you in that playstyle of it. Otherwise, in other missions, like if this was a hold 1, hold 2, hold 3, I think we're seeing nearly 100 points right there. I'm thinking like you're looking at like a 97, 98, depending on things like that, because you pulled out you literally scored 20 points on engage.
Yeah,
all game long.
Yeah, it depends on the mission, because when we were deciding on what mission to play, we were being kind of selective. The first one I pulled out was Purge the Foe, which is hold 1, hold more, kill 1, kill more. I'll probably hold more than you, but you're going to kill a lot more than me, because I have so many little units for you to chew up. So it's there's a lot of fun play to it, but there's going to be matchups that going to Blood Angels are going to table me in 3 turns. any combat focused armies. They
Want to play against world eaters?
Again, it'd be fun to try that kind of stuff, but I just think it's just gonna fold under it. Yeah, it's gonna
maybe
collapse
one of
under
these days if we can make it an incentive game or of some sort where it's like
an incentive.
Between you and I, we have a game, we play it, and then if I win, you have to play Kroot into Grey Knights or World Eaters, and then if you win, I have to play something of your choosing into something of your choosing, just so we can have that. I would like to. I mean, it's one of those things that's tough. Like, I would like to see the Grey Knights go into the Kroot because of everything you just said. Like, but because in one aspect, I think the Kroot have an amazing ability to be able to play the missions and score the points. But to your testament of certain things and certain units,
but it's a 5-round game, and they're not going to make it to 5 rounds,
right? And you have things like when you talk about your perks and your abilities, I go and take the Terminators, my 10-man brick. Well, the Grandmaster, I have a Grandmaster leading it. And what does he do? Ignores all modifiers. So he's going to ignore your stealth and then deep strike in, and then I can spend a command point or not to give him them assault and hitting on 2s and just spray an entire round of storm bolters into a unit, and then go and take my purifier somewhere else and then incinerators. And now you're losing flank on flank on flank, and then, like you said, 2-up armor. Well, if you were struggling with the Overlord, what's going to happen when it's an entire army of 2-ups?
Yeah, it would present a unique challenge just because I would control the board for the first couple turns. Because I have infiltrating units and scout moves, I would just be able to prevent Grey Knights from dropping anywhere on the board because I would fill the board. I've got one lone op character, one 12-inch deep strike deny character, and then I can just fill the board with.
If I hadn't seen it already, that's probably exactly how it would happen. But seeing it, I probably would just deploy my entire army. Because
start them on the board, move up, shoot, and then move up, shoot, charge. Once you get into combat, especially, you just tear through me. You don't need all your high strength stuff either. It's any basic space marine, even if he's not a combat marine, gets 3 attacks at strength 4, and then and
I'm strength 6.
Yeah, so they're just going to buzz through. Bust through the Kroot infantry pretty quickly. So.
It is, and it's not to be negative about it, but it is kind of like that's where it sees. But at that same time, too, my army's very small. Can you just outscore? Am I able to kill fast enough? And that's one of those things that kind of comes in that aspect of, is there enough of the Kroot to do that? Because like some of the things we talked about with you putting a unit in strategic reserve and stuff like that, and just for how much you have. But I don't know. Any final thoughts?
No, it's a lot of fun. Thank you for bringing the bad to the bone list.
Bad bone.
Had something I could actually play against that wasn't going to table me right away or be impossible to kill. So
I wanted to see all those beautiful models on the table, man. Yeah. That was really nice. Hopefully everyone out there enjoyed it. Not bringing the super competitive and talking about super competitive. We did mention that we would talk a little bit about the GT. Lane. RTT that we just had this weekend. Lane, Eddie, you had your games. You went 2-1, you said?
Yeah, won my first 2 games. All the opponents were great, so I played against. I took my Death Watch, but I reduced the number of Stern Guards. It was 2 Stern Guard squads. I brought some combat in there just because the new GW layouts for terrain really favor close combat armies because you got plenty of places to hide. So list was similar, but just put in a Land Raider and put in Stern Guard in there and put a Watchmaster in. He was really fun now that he's shutting down or increasing the cost of strats within 12 inches of him. But first round was against Tau. Tau were pretty tough. My dice were cold, but I was able to get the win out of that, pull the win out of that one. Second game was into Votan, and we had a fun time, but I was just able to outkill him pretty quickly. And the third game was into Roger and his Blood Angels. We had an amazing game. He beat me by 2 points in the end. It was a super cagey game just because if he showed me any of his Blood Angels, I was going to kill him. So he was holding back, and I was not moving too close to him. They didn't want to give him the charges. So it was a great time. Like I said, I lost my third game by 2 points. Ended up in 10th place out of 36 people that started. So not bad. There were probably 4 or 5 undefeated. So you can't really place in the top 5 if you don't win all your games. which someone else did.
Someone else did, and that person is this guy. So, thank you, by the way. So, my first game went up against Chaos Space Marines, and it was burning objectives. And I was able to burn the center objective super early, which cut the map in half. And when it cut the map in half, he got really confused. He wasn't sure which way to go with it. He went towards my robots, which I went after the objective marker closest to him. And then after his Demon Prince charged in and got stopped and my robot crushed him, that's when we called the game. The Havocs were very impressive in that matchup as he was pushing those closer to my table edge. And that was getting very concerning as how much they were actually picking up and able to get firing lanes onto it. So I was able to still mitigate with the terrain. But the big play was being able to get up on that center objective so early and burn that on the early goings of the game, really cut the map in half and left him at a point that he wasn't really sure where to go. He did have a lot of transport, so he was kind of running into himself a little bit. And he mentioned that afterwards, so it's not me saying it was him as well. He noticed that he was kind of getting stuck behind all of his vehicles and he probably should have reduced it. My second matchup was into Space Wolves. This was 3 maxed out squads of TCAV, one of which had Logan. That squad was in reserve, able to rapid ingress and be on the field on my turn 1. And I'm used to this. I'm very used to playing against that, especially with Sam and everything else. So in my first turn, with my deployment, with my scout moves, with my infiltrates, I basically had my short edge all the way over to almost 80% of the long table edge covered. So wherever they were coming on, they were going to end up coming on towards his backfield. He went more towards the top corner. And then as he approached from around the outside to get to the objective, I was able to block him in. I used a squad of Rangers, put him in front of his way. He had to take out them and then move into a Doom Crawler, which was also blocking his way because TCAT couldn't go through buildings. I personally thought I lost this game, buckled down, and because he hit me early with just in my deployment zone, in my face, and we were fighting out of it all the way through. A lot of very technical plays, a lot of just very close stuff, and I was able to pull this one out because of the Rangers being able to go out, hit objectives, score them. The one squad of Rangers just being out there, just tagging objectives for me and scoring a bunch of points, and a critical heroic intervention on a single Dragoon to finish off to contest an objective with a battle company leader. And then the game was very, very close. Ended up getting 96 or 97 on that one, but he had sitting at like 88, 89. So it was a very, very close game, really tight. I was very happy with that because I was able to pull that out at the end by just being very technical with stuff and making sure to keep his TCAV under control and not able to cover the field where I have a bunch of infantry and can do so. Mm-hmm. Final game, I played against AdMech with AdMech. Very interesting. So I guess this can show that AdMech are in a much better position now with the data sheets. This list was much different than mine. The Rad Zone, which was obnoxious to get constantly hit with radiation every turn. And then he had Breachers and Destroyers with characters. And the Breachers, that was obnoxious.
Pretty strong Overwatch from the Breachers.
Super strong Overwatch. He completely neutralized my Dragoons. Like, I honestly could have I lost my Dragoons during his turns. I tried to push through. I tried to get in position. I was like, okay, well, not all the dice. He'll miss some of this. And nope. Shooting, re-rolling, lethal hits, sustained hits. It was just too much. And I was able to whittle him down. At that point, I was again concerned. I was like, okay, I'm literally losing my Dragoons in his turn. What am I going to do? But he couldn't handle the robots. I was able to bring the robots around the outside. And again, all comes down to the infantry. Played very, very cagey with the infantry, very critical. Made him come to me. Excuse me. Wrong pipe. Made him come to me. This ain't gonna happen.
Oh, no. Technical difficulties.
Very much so. Very much so. Thank you.
Good.
Yes.
See you guys next time.
Yeah, right. Made him come to me and was able to start slowing them down with the breachers being infantry. The Vanguard, I'm sorry, the destroyers too, but it was destroyers. Them being infantry, I was able to hammer them with the Vanguard to with their anti-infantry to get them just a lot of damage and take them off the table. So that was definitely, and then at that point, once I was able to, like, he hit me early, I lost those things. I was able to just, take that breath and go, what do I need to do to win this game? Pull back, played my game with the infantry, played the mission, and in the end scored really, really nastily well, getting a 92-55 finish after losing the Dragoon like I did.
Mm-hmm.
Played it very well, and MVP in that game was a Taraxi, which prior to the tournament, Lane and I were talking about it. I was looking at some different options, and I did make a small change. So those who've seen my list, I dropped the one squad of Rangers that did not have any special weapons. I dropped it out, which gave me enough points to put in a squad of Taraxi and a techno-archaeologist. And the techno-archaeologist for 2 out of 3 games, I just put him in the backfield by himself and went, okay, 12-inch bubble. You can't go here. And that's what he did. Mm-hmm. And it was good for it because there was no one, people didn't have an answer to him.
Yeah, I didn't have any infiltrators in my list for this past tournament. I missed them because there's a lot of people uppy, downy, and deep striking and getting in close. So I would have. I'm definitely going to put them back into my Marines list.
Correct. They were awesome. So much damage. The infiltrator, my infiltrator, is so good. So much damage. Just moving up there, their 8-inch move and all the extra attacks and then sustained hits. It was just, they were so nice. And then a big part, again, that AP1. Suddenly, they increase all your weapons AP by 1. Huge. So good in so many scenarios. And in the Space Wolves matchup, the -1 to hit in combat really, really pulled me out of that to be able to go, okay, I'm -1 to hit and just walling some damage at that point.
Yeah.
So all in all, though, I did really finish with 3-0. Finished second. I was 9 points out of first, almost back to back. We'll get them again these days. But took AdMech, finished second, 3-0. I'm happy, very, very happy with that. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we're going to take a little bit of a breather here for the RTTs next month because should be seeing some babies here soon. My twins
I have 2 GTs scheduled for next month.
I know, right?
I don't know if I'm going to be able to play Deathwatch in either one of them because I don't know if the army will still exist. We'll find out.
If the GTs were this month, I could have done them both.
Yeah.
But then, of course, 2 GTs in August when my kids are being born.
Stupid
and I
kids.
Don't think my wife would be happy with listen, I know that you're in labor, but I got to go play Warhammer, honey. Listen, this is how it is. I already paid for it. Okay. Listen, the babies are going to be there when I'm done playing, okay? Okay, right? Am I right?
You're going to have them for at least 18 years.
Exactly. So, by the way, I'm completely kidding. I'm not doing it. I'm super excited, so I want to be there anyways. But there's also somewhere else I want to be right now. You know where that is?
Bed.
He's got it. All right, guys. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you again soon.